I am here with my friend Ariana. She is a sophomore in college and she attends Adelphi University on Long Island, New York. Her major is exercise science and she plans to go for a master's for occupational therapy. In high school, Ariana did a lot of APs, including AP World History, US History, Spanish Language, English Language and Composition, and AP Environmental Science. For clubs, she does mindfulness groups, gaming, acting, creative writing club, and much more. So, Ariana, I have a few questions to ask you. So we're gonna cover general well-being and happiness first, and I want you to kind of think about what is the first thing that comes to mind for what makes you happy.
I would say that the first thing that comes to my mind would be spending time with my friends. My friends make me really happy as we can truly understand each other, and we have a lot of positive memories with each other, like watching movies, going to events, and playing games together. When I'm with them, it feels like the stress and pressures of everyday life melt away for the time being. I'm really happy to have found a strong friend group in college after having struggled to make and keep friends for years prior.
That's amazing and inspiring. My next question is, how do you balance schoolwork and social life? Do you think one affects the other? And um, do you think it's different now that you are in college, that you can maybe balance this better, or has it maybe taken a bit of a dip?
I would say that it is different now that I'm in college because I have a lot more independence now, so it's kind of up to me to figure out how I have to balance things and do what's best for myself. I usually just end up prioritizing schoolwork first, but I understand that social life is also important to include in my life. And I tend to focus on getting assignments done during the beginning of the week, and I even get some future assignments done if I have time. That way, when I'm finished, I'll have free time to spend with others without having to worry about my work. Even on days when I'm busy, I'll take around 30 minutes to have dinner with my friends and chat with my roommates to get my social time in. I do think that one affects the other because if you spend too much time socializing, your grades could suffer and vice versa. College is a really big commitment, so of course it would be in your best interest to take your academics seriously, but also to make the most out of your experience by getting involved in the social opportunities offered and gaining some friends in the process.
So you think it is overall better now that you are in college, and it kind of teaches you like the ability to like manage your work and like take accountability.
For sure, yeah.
Okay. Next, we're gonna move on to technology and social media. Are you on social media such as TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat?
I have Instagram and Snapchat. I don't use them much. I tend to scroll on them for like less than an hour per day.
That's good. How much time do you spend on your phone or on social media? I know you said you didn't really spend too much time on social media, but if you could go to your screen time right now and check how much time did you spend on your phone today?
Oh my god. Let me
I
let me
know it's a
go look.
Sunday, but figured I'd ask, or what is your daily average?
Um oh my man, let me pull it up. I'm about to embarrass myself.
It's okay. Mine's like 6 to 8 hours, so
Okay, so for today, oh man, 13 hours.
okay. Do you think it helps or hurts your mood?
I would say it helps my mood because I tend to use it for things that make me happy. Like I use it I use iMessage to text my friends. I have some online friends, so that's the only way I can text them. Or I'll usually have YouTube on, either directly watching videos for entertainment or I just have them as background noise when I'm doing work or studying. So I feel like that definitely contributes to the 13
So you can
hours.
see kind of like when you look at the screen time, it puts it into categories. It shows like the different apps. So when you look at it, I'm guessing YouTube is like your highest app used then.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever tried cutting back on your screen time? And if so, do you think it changed your stress and anxiety levels?
I have tried to cut back, but I think it did end up making me more stressed. A lot of people, including myself, of course, have developed a dependency on electronics, so it's
Mm.
hard to just put it down. I like to have my phone around to check for messages, um, just so that I don't feel left out. And even when I'm not on my phone, I'll be on a different electronic, like my computer or my iPad, to do my schoolwork, take notes during class, play games, among other things. My phone has been somewhat of a pacifier and a method for escapism. Like when I'm in a loud and stressful environment, I can just put my headphones in, turn on my music, and it makes the world a little bit more bearable.
I like that. That's a good answer, and I can definitely see it from that perspective. My phone has definitely become like a pacifier to me too now when I think about it. Um, Even if like I'm watching a TV show or something, like my phone just has to be right there, even though, yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned this in my college living and fit class. I'm actually taking a college level PE course to get my credit. Um, but we learned that statistics show a strong link between smartphone use and stress. So if you can just take a second to kind of reflect on that, have you noticed that maybe within yourself, maybe within your dorm mates, roommates?
I did notice that within myself. I realized I was a lot more stressed out, mainly when I was spending a lot of time on social media. I used to post a lot and then I would get worried about what people would think of me. And I used to have like a lot more online friends, and that was not the greatest for me because we ended up arguing over very small things, and that made me stressed out. And I learned to manage this by deleting certain social medias, lowering how much I post, and reducing my online friend circle to a few friends that I trust and have good communications with. And now that I use my phone in a more responsible manner for things that make me happy, and that I consume social media very sparingly, I have decreased a lot of the stress that these two things used to give me.
Mm-hmm. So, a little off topic, but Ariana and I, we met online in 2019, so we've had a very solid friendship, and we have met in person. But a lot of the things that she has said, like using social media sparingly, is something that I've tried to incorporate too, especially after this class. I've tried not to just endlessly scroll on my phone, and I've kind of been working on procrastination, which leads me to my next point, which is school pressure. So, as a sophomore in college, do you feel much pressure to succeed academically, and how does that impact your mental health?
I do feel a lot of pressure to succeed academically. Back in high school, the pressure was on for academic success in order for me to get into college and get a generous scholarship. And even though I'm now in college, I still feel that pressure to succeed because my desired career of occupational therapy requires me to go to grad school and get a master's degree. And on applications, they do take your grades into account, and you have to get certain letter grades and a certain GPA to even apply. And it does affect my mental health in a negative way because I feel like I set very high standards for myself, and that sometimes I'll just burn myself out doing anything I can and putting in such hard work and small details to meet the expectations I have of myself. And back in like high school, middle school, I was seen as one of the smart kids. So I always feel like I'll have to meet other people's expectations too. Like, who would I be without these high grades attached to my name?
Mm. I feel like a lot of people can definitely relate to that, especially some of my friends. Do you think the school should focus more on the emotional well being of people or just the grades and the college prep? Why or why not?
I do think that schools should also focus on emotional well-being too. I feel like it's a lot more important than what people think of it nowadays. Having a balance in your emotional health and mental health is necessary to succeed in school and in the other areas of your life. If you don't learn how to manage your emotional well-being, you're just going to get stuck in a constant cycle of burnout, exhaustion, and not being able to take care of yourself properly. You end up doing work just to get it done, just for a good grade. And self-care, learning new skills, and gaining experience will get pushed to the wayside. The newfound independence that comes with going to college, and that will eventually come with getting thrust into the real world and getting a job, will be overwhelming to people who haven't learned the importance of taking care of their emotional well-being. It was a lot for me to get adjusted to when I first started college, and I had to really pick myself up and learn a lot of healthy habits fast. And I think schools should offer classes or resources to help with students with their emotional and mental health. And this could really help to create a positive and nourishing environment to foster growth in students. And I've personally learned a lot and built healthy habits from the psychology and health related classes that I've taken so far.
Just kind of off topic again, off the questions, but do you think your school has a good resource for mental health?
I would say they have a good resource for mental health. We have a counseling center, and I sought, therapy and advice there. And they ended up connecting me with the current therapist that I see, and that's been working out really well for me. So they've helped my mental health a lot.
That's good. I'm happy for you with that. The presentation, again, that I was referring to earlier, mentions that 78% of students feel overwhelmed but are still functioning. Do you think you fit into that statistic?
Oh, definitely. I feel like I have so much work to do, so many tests to study for, as well as the clubs and groups that I go to. And I go to some support meetings. It gets really overwhelming, and I often get mentally exhausted, but somehow I'm still functioning. I get good grades, and I have the energy to get out of bed in the mornings, take care of myself, and go to classes. I'm in 6 classes, which is really tough to manage. Yes, I can function properly, but sometimes I just feel like I'm working on and continuing because I have to, because it's what I've been conditioned to do.
You think that was definitely like at high school they really kind of like engraved that into your mind as well?
Definitely, yeah. They overworked us a lot.
Yeah, I see that. You talked about sleep, which brings me again to my next category. On average, how many hours of sleep do you usually get? Do you feel rested when you wake up?
I usually get around 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night, and I ironically get more sleep now than I did back in high school. Whether I feel rested or not honestly depends on my quality of sleep. Sometimes I'll end up getting woken up a few times in the morning by noise, or if I take a while to actually get to sleep at night, I'll end up tired in the morning. Sometimes I still feel tired even if I get around 9 hours of sleep. And I definitely do think that sleep affects my happiness levels. I'm really not a morning person, and I noticed that last year I was a lot moodier because my classes were early in the morning. I had 8 a.m.s, and those were really rough.
Oh my.
I would end up so tired from everything that I had to take multiple naps just to get through the day. And this semester, I decided to sign up for later classes, and I've been getting a lot more sleep. I have more energy, I feel happier, and I don't need to take naps anymore. Like on Mondays and Wednesdays, my first class of the day starts at 12:15, and I sleep in until 10 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I will definitely be taking those into consideration when picking out my courses. But you already answered my other question, which was how does sleep affect your happiness? Because, hey, we all love sleeping. The research, again, referring back to the course that I'm taking, it suggests that sleep plays a big role in managing stress. Do you do anything that improves your sleep, like turning off your phone or creating a routine?
To improve my sleep, I turn on do not disturb mode on my phone so that I don't get woken up from notification sounds, and I turn on my alarms in advance so that I know when to wake up and start my morning routine. I also like to play white noise or ASMR in order to help quiet all of the hustle and bustle going on in my mind so that I can relax and get to sleep faster.
So again, like with the YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah,
YouTube in the
me
background.
too. Okay. So coping with stress and anxiety, because I know that's definitely um, words that you kind of associate school with. When you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, what is your go-to way to relax or calm down? I know you said like listening to music and loud environments. Is that one of the things that you do?
Yeah, usually when I end up anxious or overwhelmed, my method of relaxation is if I can, I'll go somewhere quiet where I can be alone, which is usually my dorm. And I put my headphones on and play some music. I also like to scroll through photos on my phone of things that make me happy, like my dog, or I'll play video games on my computer. And I also turn to art as a way of managing my stress, and I like to draw and write.
Do you practice mindfulness? I know we talked about your club earlier. You're in a mindfulness group. Could you maybe tell me a little bit about it and the techniques that have helped you?
Yeah, in my mindfulness group, we meet over Zoom on Saturdays and we practice a lot of different things like guided meditation, mindfulness activities, and we have discussions around mental health and ways to improve positive emotions and deal with any negative emotions you may have. I also speak to a therapist, and he's helped me develop healthy skills such as deep breathing and reframing my negative thoughts. I think that these techniques actually do help because I'm able to rationalize better and really take the time to slow down and think things through. And I've learned to have a wise mind and balance my logic and emotions rather than letting just one or the other take over.
Have you tried sleep meditation? Because I've been doing that. I thought I'd share that.
I haven't tried that yet, but I'll look into that.
Do you practice? Okay, well, I was gonna ask you that. How do you deal with like the academic and personal setbacks? Do you think schools teach enough about coping with failure?
I've learned that making mistakes and experiencing setbacks doesn't define who I am, and it won't erase all of the progress and success that I've had this far. I used to get really upset when I dealt with setbacks, and then I would end up taking it out on myself. And nowadays, I have healthier coping skills, and I learn to assess the situation to see what I can do better and communicate with whoever I need to, whether that be a professor, my therapist, or somebody else. I don't think schools teach enough about coping with failure. I think they end up perpetuating the need for constant success with no room for failure or mistakes. One bad test grade isn't a scarlet letter that will define you for the rest of your life. It took me years to unlearn what the school system ingrained so deeply in my mind surrounding success and failure. Even in college, it's still evident that people suffer from this harmful mindset. I've seen friends drop out of classes that they're struggling in because they can't let their GPA take a hit, and I've heard people crying over bad grades.
I've definitely heard that, like especially in the high school, it's still going on, unfortunately. Um, what role do your friends and family play in helping you manage your stress?
My friends and family help me manage them and complain about problems I've
Can
been
you repeat that?
experiencing.
You cut out. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. My friends and family help me manage stress by acting as my support system. I can go to them and complain about problems that I've been experiencing. They're really great listeners when I need to blow off some steam and rant. Sometimes all I need is someone to hear out my problems and say, yeah, that sucks. They give me advice and encouragement that is really helpful, or they make me feel better by showing me things that would make me laugh or smile. Even if I have school related stress, my friends will share stories of their own stress, and we can all benefit from knowing that we're in this together and we can get through it.
Lovely. So actually in our class we were talking about empathy and sympathy. So I'm guessing like when your friends when they provide empathy rather than sympathy with like using their personal judgment and experience, do you think that the empathy is more helpful?
I would say both are helpful, but for me personally, I think the empathy would be a little bit more helpful.
Gotcha. And speaking of like social connections, because I know we were just talking about like friends and family, how important is it for you to talk to someone face to face rather than just texting or chatting online? Because I know like for us, like for a while we were just texting and then we'd FaceTime and then we actually got to meet in person. So what's your perspective on that? Did it affect your mood maybe?
I wouldn't say that the method of communication necessarily matters. What mainly matters to me is just the fact that I have someone to talk to. I've dealt with a lot of loneliness in the past, so I like to keep my methods of communication open to both face to face and online so I can stay in contact with my friends. Although, even with my online friends like you, I like maybe meeting up or calling once in a while because hearing people's voices is nice. Communication itself does affect my mood because talking to my friends makes me happy, and arguments or disagreements would make me stressed. But where I choose to communicate with my friends, like either texting or actual talking, has no effect on my mood.
I like that perspective of it. Have you ever felt lonely even when you're surrounded by your friends? And why do you think this happens?
In high school, I ended up getting that feeling a lot. I would be sitting with people who I thought were my friends, but who really weren't. I was excluded from conversations, and I remember looking out at the sea of students around me, and they were all laughing with each other and smiling, and yet I was just so alone. I think that ended up happening a lot because spending one on one time with friends, I would be fine and I would talk a lot to the other person. But when my friend's other friends came into the picture, I ended up just getting pushed to the side and excluded. I'm a shy and quiet person, I'll admit it, more of an observer than a talker. So unfortunately, people seem to not notice me or they seem to forget I'm even there. I was not in therapy at that time, so I never really processed my difficulties with interpersonal relationships that had stemmed back from elementary school. And I learned to accept that something was wrong with me and that everyone would eventually push me away for reasons I couldn't understand. And I ended up closing myself off to people. But I'm happy to say I'm doing much better in that field. I've learned to open myself up more to people, and I found myself a group of true friends.
That's amazing. And once again, I'm very happy that college has opened this door for you. I've definitely heard like that from my brother as well. He's kind of experienced something similar like that. But so I have two more questions for you. If you could change one thing about how students handle stress and anxiety, what would it be?
I would certainly like to lower the stigma around mental health, stress, and anxiety. And I would encourage students to use resources and seek out professionals when they're in need of help. Some people may be struggling with stress and anxiety, and they may not be aware of how to take care of themselves, or they may not know where to find resources. Things like mental health and therapy can be stigmatized, and students may be ashamed to admit that they need help. But I think that all these things can be a wonderful tool for self-improvement and learning healthy coping skills to manage stress and anxiety when life becomes too overbearing.
I'm glad you said that. I know like personally for me, like I definitely was one of those people who was like very scared to seek help, especially like with like knowing my family like works like with mental health. Like I was very scared to kind of take that, and you were one of the people who kind of like encouraged me to do that. So that's really inspiring that you shared that. And lastly, if you could give advice to, I guess, like upcoming freshmen and I guess maybe like sophomores in college too, just anyone in general, maybe struggling with stress or anxiety or finding happiness, what advice would you give them?
My first piece of advice would be to understand that you are, of course, a great human being who is worthy of love and living your best life and getting help when you need it, of course. And secondly, I think there's a lot of importance in balancing the different aspects of your well-being, like physical, emotional, intellectual, and social health, and there are more categories, because this balance will help your life fall into place. I would recommend taking an introspective look into your life and trying to hone in on those wellness aspects that may have fallen through the cracks. You may have a great sense of physical wellness, like getting in proper nutrition and physical activity, but you may need help with your emotional wellness. It's important to understand which aspects of your lifestyle are modifiable and which aspects you can't control. Things like your mindset and the amount of sleep you get are modifiable and will have big effects on your life. You can come to learn which habits you have are healthy or unhealthy and understand what changes you need to make. Find yourself a good support system to help you along the way, because change can be hard on your own. Improving your life now will make things a lot easier and secure for yourself in the future.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for a wonderful interview. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
I just wanted to say thank you for asking me these questions. I had a great time sharing my experience, and I really hope that it can help somebody.
Thank you. Okay.